everyone. Bienvenidos. We are so excited to have you with us this morning for a virtual meeting with some of our animals. Thank you for joining us. To view live closed captions in English and Spanish, please click on the external link we are dropping in the chat right now. For our guests watching on YouTube, the link to closed captions in English and Spanish is in the video description below. Para ver los subtítulos en directo en inglés y español, haga clic en el enlace externo que se encuentra en el chat. Para nuestros invitados que están viendo a través de YouTube, el enlace a los subtítulos en inglés y español se encuentra en la descripción del video. Mi nombre es Jessica, and I work with the education team at the Natural History Museum. Now, you might be surprised to learn that the museum even has live animals, but we do have over 100 different species of living animals that are in places like our nature lab, the new Bugtopia exhibit in the Discovery Center, and some that live behind the scenes, which you're actually going to get to see today. I'm joined today by our live animal program team, and along with our animal ambassadors, they're here to help connect your hearts and minds to science. Forrest Urban, who you'll be hearing from in a moment, is our manager of invertebrate living collections at the museum, and he has a few special friends to share with you today. We also have some helpers from our education department, Diana, Julie, Jules, and Maggie, who will be assisting behind the scenes. Thanks, team. We'll be together today for about 30 minutes and get to meet one of our amazing animals. After Forrest is done sharing, we'll have some time to answer some of your questions about the animals we've seen. Now, this might be a different format of Zoom than some of our students joining today are used to. You won't see any of your classmates, your teacher, or any of the other people watching this program today. And we can't see or hear you. You'll only be able to see and hear today's presenters. So since we can't actually see one another, I do want to take a moment to make a shout out to students joining us from all of today's schools. We have almost 200 participants joining us today. Amazing. Welcome, everyone. So since we can't see any of you and you can only see us right now, we're going to use the chat function to ask questions. During the presentation, if you're watching this on Zoom, you can click on the chat box to type in a question or ask your adult to help type in a question for you that we will try to answer at the end of the presentation. Type your question directly into the chat for us to see it. Your question will only be seen by the museum staff who are running this Zoom right now. The chat box is currently closed, but we'll open it up during Forrest's presentation. We ask that all of our friends joining us today only put questions or comments related to the presentation in the chat. This helps us make sure we can get through as many questions as possible. And to be respectful of our helpers, we also ask that participants are communicating respectfully and using appropriate language in the chat. Folks that are not following our code of conduct may be removed from the program this morning. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can, but in case we don't get to answer your question today, we encourage you to record your ideas and you can learn more about the animal on your own. If you'd like, grab a piece of paper and a pencil so you can record your experience while you're watching today. You can note down any of those questions you have, maybe a few facts you've learned, or you can draw or write a description of what the animal looks like. Let's get started. I'm going to switch our camera over to Forrest so we can meet our live animals today, and you'll see me again in a little bit.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everyone. I'm Forrest, and I'm here behind the scenes in the museum in a special room we call the insectary. And this is a place where we emerge all the butterflies for Butterfly Pavilion, and we take care of and rear out all the spiders for Spider Pavilion as well, including Bugtopia, as Jessica mentioned, in Nature Lab. So we have probably thousands of invertebrates here, back here in this insectary special lab room. And behind me, I have probably at least 30 tarantulas, and we're going to look at some of those today. So as I mentioned, we're in Spider Pavilion season, right? And Spider Pavilion is right outside the door. It's a huge open air pavilion where you can walk up and get close and personal to some of the biggest orb weavers in the world, as well as some of the local orb weavers, as well as some tarantulas and wolf spiders. And today we're going to look at all of those species that we have in the Spider Pavilion. So now I'm going to share my screen before we go to our creature cam. And this is an orb web, right? Orb weavers make orb webs. They produce silk inside their bodies, and they make some of the most beautiful webs. Some of the webs are huge. Some of the webs are teeny tiny, but they're all very specific to the species. Let me put out my pointer. Here's my pointer here. Okay. Let's see. Advancing the slide. So this is what the web construction of an orb web looks like. You may not realize it, but it has very specific parts to it. And a spider, an orb weaver, is actually practically blind. We would consider them to be legally blind. And yet, from birth, they're able to create these elaborate, beautiful, symmetrical webs. They're not taught by their mothers. They don't have a book. They can't watch YouTube videos. They can't see. They usually do it at night. And it's really a wonder of nature. And so let's look at how they do this. Let's see if we can figure it out. Well, if we look at number one, first of all, a spider finds two vertical spots, either two trees or two bushes or a bush and maybe the side of a house, and puts out one piece of silk. Then it crawls along that one piece of silk with a second piece of silk, okay? Then goes to the middle of that second piece and drops down, and then starts to make these spokes, like the spokes of a bicycle tire. So then it runs to this vertical piece with a third piece of silk, and then goes and connects these two with kind of a triangle piece, and then does that over and over again until it creates kind of a wheel, kind of a square wheel, if you will, with spokes coming off of it. And it's doing this with different types of silk that are different strengths and different colors. And then it's going to create the catching spiral. This is the part where it sits in the middle of it, but then these pieces here are sticky and they have glue on them with a special type of silk. And that's what it uses to catch its prey. So spiders, right, they pull silk out from their back of their abdomens here in these spigots like a hose called spinnerets. These are what the spinnerets look like very up close through an electron microscope, which is a very strong microscope. You can see each one of these individual spigots in green, and then the purple is the silk that's being pulled out. Actually, when the silk is inside their bodies, it's in liquid form. And then when it hits the air, it changes into a solid filament of silk. And this is what it looks like inside. So this is an abdomen of the spider. That's the tail end. And then these are all the glands inside their bodies. They have 5 different types of glands to produce 5 different types of silk, right? They have the structural silk to make the structure of the web. They have the sticky type of silk, and those are pieces of glue. They also use silk to wrap up their eggs into an egg sac. They have silk for a part of the spiral that's not sticky because they don't want to get stuck in their own silk. They have silk for attaching 2 pieces of silk together, right? And then they also use silk to wrap up their prey once they've caught something. And so a spider web, they live in it their whole lives. That's where they catch their food. They do everything in the orb web. Pretty amazing. Now, this is the golden silk spider. This is the largest species of spider that we have in North America. And they make the biggest webs that are actually yellow, very golden color, and they're incredibly strong. It's one of the strongest substances that we've identified in nature. ounce per ounce. They're stronger than steel. And scientists have started to figure out how to make silk. And they use it for making things like vests, bulletproof vests for police officers. Super amazing. Now, for the same species, this is the female and this is the male. The males are teeny tiny and they don't make their own webs. They just live in the webs of the females. So one of the reasons why the females are so much bigger, right, is they have all those silk glands in their body. Plus they're making eggs. So they have an egg manufacturing factory in their body as well. And males don't have either of those things. So males are much smaller. Now, they can make these huge webs and they can also catch other things like snakes and birds and bats in their webs. Their webs are so strong and so big. It's amazing. They can also make web decorations in their webs. This is a garden spider that you may have in your garden. And this is what's called the silverback that you may see near like the beaches. But these really thick parts are called stablementa. And what's amazing about them is they kind of camouflage the spider that's sitting in the middle. They don't want to be seen by birds and get eaten. And it also has a zigzag so that birds don't fly through their webs, which is important. And they like to eat pollinators, so it reflects UV, which attracts pollinators. So it's amazing at web adaptation. These are some of my favorite spiders that we have in there. They're about the size of a nickel, and they come in all these different colors with different polka dots, and they have spikes on their bodies. And can you think of why they would have spikes? Why would that be adaptive? It's adaptive because they don't want to get eaten by like birds. So if a bird gets this in their mouth, it would hurt and it would spit it out. Spiny back orb weavers, amazing. And these are really delicate looking spiders. They're bright day glow green with day glow orange on them. And those spiders, right, make a vertical web up and down. They make a web that's horizontal side to side and then tilted. So they're catching things that are coming up this way and jumping up and going up trees instead of things that are flying. That's the orchard spider. Now look at some things that aren't orb weavers. We also have these in the gift shop area of the Spider Pavilion. And this is called a pink toe tarantula. We're going to look at one of these today. Look at their cute little pink toes and all their hairy bodies. So tarantulas are known for being super hairy, right? Now they also can't see very well at all. They're practically blind, but they can detect all kinds of things with all of these hairs on their body. And they use the hairs also for defense. So they can flick the hairs off, and that can get lodged in a predator's eyes or nose or mouth, really irritating. But this is what it looks like when it's a baby. When it's a baby, it's the reverse colors with the black body and pink legs, and then it flips to pink toes and a black body. Super cute, the pink toe tarantula. Now, when all spiders have to grow, they have to molt, right? A spider, like all invertebrates, has an exoskeleton, right? Their skeleton's on the outside and our skeleton's on the inside. So the exoskeleton is like a skin, but it's not a flexible skin. It's flexible a little bit, but not like our skin's flexible. It's very rigid, very hairy because it has all those sensory hairs. And they have fangs on the exoskeleton. And so anytime they need to grow, they will flip on their backs and pop open their exoskeleton and pull all their 8 legs and their fangs out. They can also regenerate legs. If they've lost one or something's happened to one, they can grow a new leg. Cool, super cool. But you can see this tarantula is laying in a bed of silk. So that's another way that they use silk is for molting. This is a green lynx spider. This is a sit and wait predator. So they don't build webs and they don't create like layers like a tarantula does. These hang out on flowers and wait for a pollinator to come and then pounce. You can see their bright green bodies with these cool black leg spikes. And this one's caught something, so it's eating something right here. We have tons of these in the pavilion and lots that have egg sacs attached to them too. These are one of my favorites. So this is the daring jumping spider. These guys are super cute. You can get these jumping inside your houses sometimes. Now, none of the spiders I'm showing you are poisonous to people at all. And spiders are super important for the environment because they help us with like pest control and things. Pest control would be like eating mosquitoes, eating biting flies, eating roaches, all those types of things. Scientists have estimated that if we didn't have spiders, there would be just, the world would be all pests, all biting flies, all roaches. We wouldn't even be able to live on the planet. That's how much pest control they do for us. The jumping spiders are super cool because they are interested in us. They actually have really good eyesight, better eyesight than we have. And so they can detect things really well. They're really active. If you're there next to them, they'll like turn and look at you. Super funny. I love them. And you can have one of these as a pet very easily. Or if it jumps into your kitchen, just leave it there. Just be sure not to spray it with something accidentally or step on it. This is what their eyes look like up close. So they have really big forward-facing eyes and all these other eyes on the side and on the above and behind. So it's really hard to sneak up on a jumping spider. They can see you coming instantly. And then look at all these hairs. All these tufts of hairs, right? Sensory hairs for detecting smell and vibration and all kinds of things. This is the peacock spider. It's a teeny tiny spider in Australia, but if you look up peacock spider on YouTube, you can see their dance routines. Yes, they dance. This is a male, looks exactly like a peacock. They throw their arms up and throw up this part of their carapace, part of their exoskeleton, and actually dance around to try to impress females. It's hilarious. You should look it up. Here's another one, getting jiggy. So another thing that we have in the spider pavilion are wolf spiders, right? They're called wolf spiders because they're fast runners. They stalk their prey. They have really big forward-facing eyes again. So that means that they have good eyesight, right? And when you have good eyesight, you're not stuck right in a web. You don't have to create like a layer of silk and just hunker down. You can be active and run around and catch stuff. This one has caught some cupcakes. And this is another picture of what their eyes look like. I love to look at a spider's eyes. That's actually how, if you were an arachnologist, somebody who studies spiders, that's how you identify who is who, which species is which, is by the pattern of their eyes. And to catch a wolf spider, you can go out in your front yard or your garage and take a flashlight, turn it on, and you can see their eyes shining back at you. It's like a deer, and you can find them that way. Or if you're camping. Wolf spiders are really good mothers. They take their eggs, right? They wrap them in silk, and then they take their silk egg case and strap that to their bodies and run around until all the spiders emerge. These are all spiderlings that have emerged, and then she carries them all on her back until they get old enough to jump off. Now, spiders are part of the food chain, right? Like everything is. And so a lot of other things eat spiders. They eat each other quite often, but they're a really important part of the food chain. So now I'm going to switch my camera to my creature camera, and let's look at some of the spiders that I have here with me. Might do some feedings if we can. Let's see. All right, so the first thing I have to show you is one of our wolf spiders. All right, this is the thing that has shiny eyes, that runs around our garages and our front yards. Let's see if it wants a cricket. Oh, got it really quickly. So it's holding that cricket in its jaws, and it will envenomate it, right? That means inject it with venom. You see its eyes shining. So you know it's a wolf spider, right? That venom would not hurt us at all, but it will paralyze and digest its food. So wolf spiders don't put down layers of silk like tarantulas do. This is some tarantula silk, just tons and tons of layer upon layer upon layer of silk that's woven into this dirt. I could pick the whole thing up at once. And all tarantulas will weave this in their house and then not ever leave unless they're a male. Female tarantulas don't ever leave their house. Males do. They don't live very long because of it. But female tarantulas can live for a long time. I'm talking like 25 years or so. This is that pink-toed tarantula. You see her pink little toes. You see how fuzzy wuzzy she is. And this is all of her silk. They are arboreal. That means they live in trees. And so the side of this glass is all of her silk. And there's her little skate patch down there at the bottom. It's kind of like a tube of silk. These are great pets as well. Very good pets, but it's going to live a long time, right? So you have to make a commitment to have if you were going to have a tarantula for a few decades. Take it to college with you. All right, let's look at some of their exoskeletons, right? I said how they grow is by shedding their old skin. So this is an exoskeleton. This is the head. That's the part that popped off, kind of like when a tank pops open its lid. So the head pops open. Those are the eyes in the middle where the two white dots are. And then they'll pull all 8 legs out and the fangs out. And let's flip it over so we can see the fangs. Wow, those are the fangs, pretty big. So this is the largest species of tarantula. It's called the Goliath bird eater. And our tarantula here at the museum is named Coco. So this is her exoskeleton. There's another one of her exoskeletons. Super amazing. Now these are some egg sacs of orb weavers. Can you imagine or guess? This one's wrapped in golden silk. Can you guess which one this one's from? Right, this is from the golden silk spider. Oops. And then we have some other species. You can actually see all the eggs inside of that one. And then these two over here are kind of a weird shape. This is the silverback or Gaiape. All right, so super cool. Let's see if we can look at our jumping spider real quick. It's daring jumper, it's being really fast. Super cute. See her eyes, she's looking right at us. And her green fangs, day glow green iridescent fangs. You can find these in your yard really easily, jumping around your house this time of year. Okay, let me put the lid on. Oops, jumped out. Oops. All right, I'm gonna have to come back to that. Sorry, she jumped out. That's all right. She'll help us with pest control here in the lab if I can't find her. All right. Thank you guys. If you have any questions for me, be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks, Forrest. Super cool presentation. All right, so let's jump right to it. We've got a few minutes for questions. Daniel and Miss Navarro's class are wondering, what do the spiders drink and eat, and how do they drink and eat?
So most spiders don't drink. They get all their water from the food that they catch and eat. So most things, believe it or not, are more than 80% water. Around 80% water. And so they get all of their water from their whatever they're going to catch, flies, crickets, and back here we feed things different species of roaches. We feed things mealworms, which are the larva part of a beetle. We feed things crickets and silkworms too.
Very cool. Kind of related, Audrina is wondering how long it takes them to digest their food.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends on the spider. Larger spiders eat larger prey, and it would take longer. Sometimes they'll wrap it up like a burrito and just save it and eat it for later. But I would say on average about an hour. About an hour.
Nice, efficient. Related to food again. So Jian, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, is wondering, how do the tarantulas eat if they don't leave their house?
Right, so they're sit and wait predators, and they're waiting for things to come close and to stumble upon their silk. And their silk sends off vibrations that they actually translate into information. So when something crawls across their silk, they can tell what it is and if they want to eat it or ignore it or just bite it and then kick it out. That's a great question.
Super neat. So Miss Navarro's class and Audrina are wondering, how old can spiders be?
That also depends. Orb weavers live for a season. And so usually they emerge in the fall and then mate the following spring and summer. And then the next generation, then they'll pass away, they'll die. And then the next generation will repeat the cycle all over again. Same for jumping spiders. Tarantulas can live for decades. A wolf spider can live a couple of years. So it depends on the type of spider.
Right, Coco's in her 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's keep moving. We have a ton of questions. Time for maybe 2 more. So Miss Navarro's class is wondering, what is the biggest spider web?
The biggest spider web comes from, I happen to have a picture right here. This guy, which is from Southeast Asia, from Malaysia. Normally we have these in the pavilion. Because of COVID. We couldn't get these this year. And so their webs are about 5 meters long and wide. Huge, huge.
Don't want to walk into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zoe is wondering, why do spiders have hair?
Right. So they use their hair for different things. Like I said, detection. And so with that detection, their detection is smell, is sunlight, is other spiders. They use it also for defense. And so sometimes they'll just have spikes, right? So if something were to bite it, it would get hurt from all those spikes. Sometimes they'll be able to throw the spikes off as a defense to get lodged in things, you know, in their skin and their eyes and their nose and their mouth. So they use hair for all kinds of things.
Super cool. Okay, we have time for one more question. Someone with the username Bug is wondering, do the spiders scare you sometimes?
They scare me sometimes. They really did, probably years ago. It took me, my mother and my brother are really phobic. I think they passed along a little of that to me. But with education and learning and working with them all the time, I was able to flip that into a lot of curiosity. And so I don't really have much fear of the spiders. Now, Coco, the giant Goliath-eating tarantula, don't mess with her. She likes to flick her hairs, and it can get in your eyes. So I don't mess with our really big ones. I do have a fear of those.
A healthy fear for sure.
Yeah,
awesome.
healthy fear.
Well, thank you so much, Forrest. This was awesome, as usual.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close out our program for today, friends. Let me just pull up our last slide for y'all. Okay, there we go. So thank you so much for joining us today, friends. We learned so much about the wonderful world of spiders. If you want to see more of our live animal program, give them a follow on Instagram at NHMLA_live animals. We'll also have all the videos from our presentations on our YouTube channel for you to watch later, where you can catch this recording at youtube.com/NHMLA. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Adios.